Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Bold TV and the Inside the OC podcast. My name is Matt Canizaro, and we are excited to kick things off here in 2021 as we get closer to the start of this year's event in Las Vegas. We're going to have some terrific guests to come on to talk about, as always, their amazing careers at the USBC Open Championships, some of their highlights, favorite moments, host cities, and much, much more. Today, we've got, as always, a very special guest to come on and tell us about all of those things and more. But joining me on the podcast to help break things down, Aaron Smith. Welcome back to Inside the OC.
Hey, Maddie. It's been so long since we've done something like this where we talk to each other across from different places on different screens and all that stuff. We haven't done it in so long. But it's great to be back.
It's been a minute. It's going to be fun. Just definitely the routine is a little bit different, right? We've got a new studio for you and a new studio for me, and a new topic. I haven't said PWBA yet, or anything related. We're going to talk about some of that and the amazing coverage that we got to do last week. But mostly, of course, it's Inside the OC. So we're going to dive in to the OC. Today's guest, what can we say about this gentleman? He's left-handed, so already a favorite in my book, number one. A USBC Hall of Famer as of the class of 2020, terrific performer, former Team USA member, Eagle winner, and just so many cool things to discuss from both on and off the lane. So I'm going to stop talking about him, and we can bring him in. It is, I don't know what to call him at this point. Eagle winner, Team USA member, USBC Hall of Famer, Andrew Cain. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate the intro. I appreciate you leading with the left-handedness. It's always good to get that out of the way early.
I had the opportunity 2 decades ago now, not to age us at all, but to watch you succeed and do your thing in college bowling. Of course, I was extremely jealous most of the time because you were able to do things that I just couldn't figure out. But that's why you are where you are, and I'm the one asking you questions about all of your great performances.
Yeah, but isn't it awesome? It's such a small world. Here we are again, right? All back together doing this. So that's one of the best things about bowling, right?
100%. And you've had the chance to see all aspects of it. So we're going to talk about that today. Of course, your induction delayed for a minute to the USBC Hall of Fame until the time is right for you to share that moment with your family and friends. And so definitely curious about your thoughts on the fact that you'll be going in for meritorious service, despite being a top performer at the same time. But first, let's catch up on life on 2020 and 2021. What's been going on for you? What does Andrew Cain do in real life besides throwing strikes and leading the LAX to success in the PBA League?
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, we didn't come as close to winning this year as we have in previous years, but life's been kind of interesting since 2020 started. I don't bowl. Well, I suppose I never really bowled on tour full time except for a couple of seasons bowling every single event. But I bowled a lot in 2020 early on through the World Series until a lot of our events were cut short. Actually, I sold a small business that I owned that I did part-time, and I've taken a full-time corporate job, which has been great. My daughter's going on 8 years old. And so having a steady day-to-day and being able to provide and being able to be home with my family is something that's very unique to me. I don't recall being home for this many days in a row. When I got on a plane to go to the PBA League back in September, it was a really, really bizarre feeling to actually pack and go to the airport. I couldn't remember where I'd put half of my luggage and, all the things that were always ready in a go bag right by the door. I didn't remember where I'd put anything. So it's been a ride like it has for everybody. I certainly feel very lucky that, I think myself and my family have had it pretty good through all of it. So we're very lucky. Some of our friends and family haven't been so lucky. So we're definitely blessed to have what we have, and I'm very appreciative of where I'm at right now. But yeah, it was an exciting year in terms of looking forward to an induction. I'm glad we all got through it. We're starting to bowl again, which is awesome. The ladies are starting to bowl again on tour, and we're healthy. So I really can't complain. It's been better than most. Let's put it that way.
Well, I think the standout part of that was the fact that your daughter's 8 years old. How did that happen? How's it been
Well,
that long?
Well, it's how does it happen? I mean, it's easy. They're born, and then the natural course of humanity. I mean, they get old, you feed them, and then they grow. We can't keep a plant alive in the house, but somehow we've managed to get here. And we have a fish that's going on 8 months old, and so we're doing pretty well keeping life alive. But the more I feed her, the more she grows. So yeah,
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, now as she gets a little bit older, she's going to start to understand all of the amazing things you've done for our sport over the years. Going back again to when we first knew each other as collegiate bowlers, you bowled at Arizona State, and then around that time and toward the end of that career, amazing success in your pre-pro career. We don't use the word amateur in this stage very often, but in your pre-pro career, success there with Team USA, USA Amateur Champion, and just the stepping stone. You have perfectly illustrated, exemplified the stepping stones of USBC from youth bowling to college bowling to junior Team USA, all of the things. Tell us about that, the progression of Andrew Cain and the things that we should know about how you got to where you are now.
Man, when you put it like that, it has been a long time, and there's a lot there. I guess I've said this to a lot of people before. I was a youth leader back when I was a teenager, bowled a lot of tournaments. I think the JBT is probably where I really learned how to be competitive. We had the JBT come out here in '97 before we went to college. And so I do think between that and some of the early Vegas junior events that preceded junior gold is where I really started to develop a taste for competition. And, I don't want to go year by year, but it all led to the point where, I got into college, and that was a great environment to learn in. I learned how to be the anchor the hard way. Got 5 on my first attempt, missing the head pin to the right. Just say, you can't make fun of yourself. We didn't win that game, but those are one of the lessons I learned along the way. And winning the National Amateur Championship was obviously the first big stepping stone in my career, I think. And that definitely was a door opener. It even changed, what I did in college in terms of major. I was going to be I was majoring in rocket science. I was an aerospace engineering major, and then I made Team USA, and it was a difficult conversation. Obviously, as we know, I don't think bowling pays as well as that might have, but I just didn't enjoy it as much. I got to see the world, got to travel, and in terms of intangibles, I gained a heck of a lot more than I might have. Not saying don't stay in school, kids. Don't. I still got my degree, but I will tell you that some of the experiences I had coming out of Team USA and that program were things that molded me. And boy, we went from there. Boy, that was 20 years ago, wasn't it? The first time. Keep bringing that up. My gosh, that was 20 years ago. So. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to be 40 this year, so that'll be fun. But yeah, Team USA, I made it 2 years. Didn't make it my third year. Obviously, that's 2004. That's a down year. When you get a taste of Team USA, you always want to come back. You want to be back in that family. You want to be back in that environment. You want to be out on the lanes competing. And so it really burns. I know a lot of people that if they miss a year, it really, really burns, and you go home and you work as hard as you possibly can to get back out there. And so in 2005, I did get back onto Team USA and travel down. We had some success in the zone tournament down in Puerto Rico, Costa Rica. And got my card a couple years later. Got my card prior to pros being allowed on Team USA. At that time, it was actually, a choice you had to make. In the pre-pro career days, you had to make a decision how you wanted to handle it. But yeah, it's been a ride all the way up and through the Hall of Fame. Boy, I never expected to get that call. Nobody, I don't think anybody ever expects to get that call. And you mentioned meritorious service. I think when you get to that point, however you got there is irrelevant. It really is the fact that, somebody thought, and I've said this before, I think to Jason, we did another podcast like this and said that it's just a matter of the fact that somebody saw fit that your accomplishments deserve the Hall of Fame. And that's just an awesome thing. The reflection is it's really something.
Well, now, while you were throwing strikes and winning medals and wearing the red, white, and blue, well, first we have a great picture here that we'd like to share.
Oh no, I have a feeling I know what this one is.
From one of our encounters. This was in Corpus Christi in 2006. for your success from the Bowling Riders, presented this award, Bowler of the Year. And again, that's 15 years ago already, as we continue to grow and excel and move on. And but at the same time, while all this was happening, you were throwing strikes and getting all these accolades. You had this parallel life, as you mentioned, that started with being a youth leader in the days ago. But this parallel life where you served the organization, and now at 39 years old, able to say you've done enough and achieved enough to be going to the USBC Hall of Fame. Again, 39 years old, with these two parallel careers, and the fact, I mean, the things you did, as the committees, you're the president of USBC. You served all of the millions of members. Talk about that path, that direction, and how does this happen? And all the amazing things that you got to be a part of, while also out there bowling and having a career on the lanes.
Well, you know, I can certainly thank Team USA for that, because I didn't really have any designs on the administrative side after I served as a youth leader. You know, I got to experience the convention for the first time. I won the Chuck Hall Award and got to stand in front of a room of ABC delegates, which at the time was, you know, a couple thousand people. And I'd never been in front of a room that large, and certainly not spoken in front of a room that large. And I really, by the time I was president of USBC, I really tried to think back to that moment. It was such a long time before that, but it was just something that was so impactful to me to be able to stand in front of that room. But now, instead of accepting an award, you know, we were conducting business. And 2007, as a result of Team USA, I received a letter and said, "Hey, you're eligible to be an athlete to serve on the USBC board of directors." And I remember standing in the living room telling my wife, you know, this is really cool. I don't have any idea what this is or what I would be doing, but it sounds like it's a really important job. And, you know, we always talk about, hey, it'd be great to find a way to give back. And maybe this is that way to give back. And so I sent in an application, and after the athletes voted, I was elected to the board. Quickly learned I was once again a really small fish in a big pond and didn't know what I didn't know, and tried to learn as much as I could. apparently through all of that, just to shortcut it, you know, I tell it like this. There was no magic. I never got on the board and thought, man, it'd be great one day to be president. I thought, boy, there's a whole lot of reasons. So I don't know why anybody would want to be president. It seems so stressful, and there's a lot that you do and a lot that you have to learn to get to that point. But, you know, I knew bowling. At that point, I guess my exposure was limited to, I know how to strike and I know how to throw the ball down the lane, but I quickly learned how many other things were involved with our sport, particularly on USBC side as a governing body. And it was really cool. As an athlete, you know, just like I'd say 90% of us do, you immediately go to the spec side. You really want to learn about how all of the equipment works and what it is that we govern and how we do it. And what I found I had an affinity for was the rules side. I actually really was quite good at analyzing our rules, and quite enjoyed looking at some of the legislation and how that was all constructed, and how the amendments would pass. And Tamara Adams took me under her wing. She mentored me. She was probably my biggest mentor on the board. And you know, I served on her committee under her for a couple of years. And when she broke her foot, right before convention, I had to step in as acting chair. And that's probably where that was the turning point where, you know, I had to be on stage and run the legislative session, which just a little behind the scenes there for anybody. And you guys have been there and watched it, but that might be one of the most stressful things you could possibly do, because you've got a whole lot of rules, you've got a whole lot of specifics, and you know, and you have to manage it all. And it was just incredibly intimidating. I was 25 or 26 at the time. So it was incredibly intimidating to go through that. But, you know, you learn a lot of skills from bowling. So I just focused and, you know, hunkered down, try to get the job done. And somewhere in there, you know, that landed me on another committee, which landed me on another committee. And that's how the story goes. There's nothing special or magic about it, but I found myself in the seat of the presidency a few years later. And now you're saying I'm 39, man. That was 10 years ago. I was 29. How, somebody not yet 30 is going to be president of an organization of this size. I mean, here we are 10 years later, and it still seems a bit surreal.
I was going to say, so 39, almost 40. That means you're a year or two older than me and a year or two younger than Matt. So, Matt, my question is, what are we doing here? What have we done? Jeez. From the online to the offline, that's just so amazing that all that you've been able to contribute to the sport at such a young age, where Matt and I are just here occasionally hosting podcasts. So Matt, we got to up our game here a little bit to get on Andrew's level. Hey,
not to sell it short, guys. I mean, I do admire what you do, because you get a front row seat to some of the coolest things that happen in our sport. There's a lot of things that I get to hear about that happened, and you guys were sitting there watching it unfold. Matt was there. Aaron, I'm not sure if you were, but Matt was there in 2011 when we won that Eagle, because I remember hearing his commentary on the video that I watched afterwards. So,
well, we did find that yesterday. It was, and we'll have a piece of that here as the show rolls on. But you're absolutely right. I mean, Aaron, somebody has to tell the stories, right? Somebody has to chronicle the things that happened and remember exactly how they unfolded, and we get to be there. And eventually, perhaps someday, we'll get invited to some of those meetings and committees, and they're going to rely on us to tell them, all the facts and how things happened. And so if it may not feel like it now, eventually, hopefully, we'll serve a bigger role, or somebody will need to find a story or a photo or something, and we'll have it, just like we found the 2011 live stream that you guys weren't even supposed to be on. It was just dumb luck. And right. I look forward to hearing that part of the story as we move on here to the OC part of things. But you mentioned the timeline of getting onto the board and the progression there. And that was around the same time that the PWBA happened for you. You found success in the West, in the Northwest, and Rookie of the Year, Player of the Year, and all these things that happened at once. And, having to balance it, of course, and then getting married and having a daughter and all those things. How did you manage that? And I know your success on the national stage maybe hasn't been what you had hoped, or maybe it has. Maybe you've succeeded in ways that you didn't expect. But tell us about that. I mean, you mentioned the big decision on what you're going to do with your bowling career, but that's really when it all started for you.
Yeah, I certainly won't say it's a regret that I don't have a national PBA title, because I'm still bowling. I still, and if that happens when I'm a senior, that I wouldn't be the first person in history that won a title on the PBA senior tour for their first. But we got a long ways to go before that. As long as I'm still healthy and as long as I still have the chance to bowl PBA tournaments, I'm still going to be chasing that. I've had a couple close calls on TV shows, times where, you get there, and the way you get there, you just think it's your time, and then it's not your time. I'm still confident that that's going to happen at some point, and I'm still focused on that. I bowled the Players Championship a couple weeks ago. So that I'm certainly very active, very committed to still throwing the ball, but yeah, there was a lot to balance, and it was those years after I joined the board and was still active on tour. It was pretty difficult. Luckily, we had some technology that helped us all communicate. I couldn't imagine doing that 20 years ago. It probably wouldn't have been possible. So it was great that I had the ability to try to do all of these things, but I had a pretty full plate for a while, and I think somewhere in there, the high level bowling, the one very thing that got me there is probably the thing that might have slipped the most in terms of my focus. But I had so many other things that were meaningful to me. My family, most importantly, but then all of the work I was doing with USBC, guys used to joke with me, well, hey, isn't this the thing that you're supposed to do after you retire? So, well, I don't know if there's really a right time. If I'm the first one that's done it this way, then I guess so be it. But is there really a right time? That letter showed up in my mailbox. I could have easily thrown it away and said, yeah, this isn't the right time. But when is it? If there's one thing I know for sure, is that I've never thrown away an opportunity I've had in the sport. Every time something has come my way to take advantage of an opportunity that it provides, I do it. And the day that I have an opportunity to win a title, I'm going to take advantage of it. But it all happens if you just stick with it and you focus. It's the administrative side of it, it's no different than throwing a ball. We had a job to do, and it was simply focus on getting the job done. Let's listen to what our stakeholders and our constituents say, and let's work together and just do it. It's that simple.
Right. Now, you mentioned 2021 and the new job and being able to compete also recently in the Players Championship. And that actually went pretty well, right? New ball company, things went well. And you definitely made a run at the top 5 for that event in a very tough region. But at the same time, falling a little bit short there gave you a chance to see bowling as a fan and watch a little PWBA action, right? Seeing the ladies on the lane. So it's been a busy couple of weeks for you, for the sport. Talk about January in general and the company and the success and, and getting to see bowling in the spotlight that it has been in.
Well, it's pretty cool, and there's a lot of other sports that have been going on, getting a little bit of press. A lot of sports have lost fans, but I think bowling fans have just been craving what is going on right now. I think people that have missed bowling, especially in states where, unfortunately they still aren't allowed to bowl or are just reopening. It just was a tragic year for bowlers in general. If you look at it, on a global scale, we were pretty fortunate here in Arizona. Things remained largely open, but our neighbors to the west here in California, I just can't even imagine what they're going through. We got pretty lucky. We scored a few tournament clubs that didn't have anywhere to bowl, so they brought their players and came over and hosted some tournaments in Arizona, and that's been awesome. But January, once the PBA made the announcement they were going to have the Players Championship and the PWBA was going to have live telecasts, and schedules, man, it was just awesome to know that, guys, pro bowling's going to show back up. Bowling's going to show back up in the mainstream in January. But after the holidays, I really focused in a way that I haven't focused in a long time on my bowling and got ready for that region. It's, again, another thing where you think about, is it my time? I don't know. I've bowled in that bowling center a million times as a kid and practiced there as an adult. The bowling dynamics drills my bowling balls, and they're in that shop. I mean, it just seemed like the perfect setup, but I didn't want to set any expectations. So I got to work once the holidays passed. And it was a fun weekend. It was a whirlwind, and I was exhausted. But that's one of the downfalls of being 39 is after the 28 games in 2 days, you don't come out of it feeling that great on the other side for a couple days, and I'm in pretty good shape. We work out a lot, and I stay in really good shape. But holy cow, we weren't in bowling shape, that's for sure. To try to practice the amount of games you have to get into to get used to that. People still don't understand, I think, how much effort that is. There were a lot of new PBA members that week, at least in our region. A lot of people that had just signed up, and I'm not really sure they understood what they were in for. But it gave a lot of people a taste of how difficult it really is to compete on tour and on those conditions. It wasn't a full tour field, but it was we had Belmo was in our region, and we had Marshall and Simo and Rhino. It was a tough region at the top. There's no doubt. Jacob obviously made it. And some of the superstars of the past 5 years all bowled in our region. And these guys got an up close and personal look at how good they are and, how well conditioned they are to get through such a demanding format. My run was a little short, but I loved every minute of it. And I think the best part about, for me personally, not being out on tour full time is, it would be really, really frustrating. It'd probably take me a long time to get over it, but I can shake it a lot quicker now. I have a lot of other things that are a priority in my life. And as much as I wanted to get through to that show, it sure was a lot of fun. I actually enjoyed it for the first time in a while. And I do have to, I credit some of that to this new company. These balls we're throwing are great. Victor Marion and Rhino Page, I mean, they've been, awesome to work with. Mike Flanagan came out and worked with us a little bit. And, it was great to have a company with people you're friends with, people you've known a long time, and that support, and not to mention those things strike a lot. So it was pretty awesome. Like a full debut, I guess, for 2021.
Well, it's very cool to hear things feeling good and looking good. And the timing is just right, of course. For the Open Championships, which is coming up right around the corner. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But during your time as USBC president and with the board, was around the time the PWBA returned, of course. And now we have an opportunity to see some young stars basically the new Andrew Cain's, right, on the ladies' side of 1999 or 2000. Just the Chuck Hall star tomorrow. The person looking to take the next step, and of course, we want to take the opportunity to talk about the young star Jillian Martin and what she put on the show that she did at the PWBA event and her success. And you could probably relate to being that young sensation and having that kind of success.
Yeah, it's cool. Watching. And I gotta be honest. I mean, I've been following it, but my wife diligently follows the scores. And she hasn't bowled very much, hardly at all in the last. I don't know. It's been since not long after our daughter was born. She really scaled back on the bowling, but it's just odd. She so intently watches the scores, follows it every single day. We talk about it at dinner, but it was awesome watching the ladies get out there and compete in so many tournaments. I loved watching all the different social media where they were showing, they had their workout routines in the room, in the bubble, and, all the way they were professionally treated at the ITRC. And then of course, not only watching all the new champions win, but yeah, Jillian's run, holy cow, that is some impressive bowling for somebody her age. But I think we knew that a couple of years ago, right? We knew this was coming. Maybe not as soon as it had, but I think we all knew that she was going to be just spectacular. And I think the toughest part now for her, you got to enjoy that moment, but you just got to get right back out there and focus. You now know you can bowl, and so does everybody else. And then with that comes some expectations, and what happens next is how you handle them.
All right, now we'll turn the clock back a little bit to when you were the young breakout star, and we'll talk about the Open Championships. Of course, that's why we're here inside the OC. So we'll take it back to 2001 again, right in that same time window of college bowling and Team USA, and you made your debut at the National Bowling Stadium in Reno, a very comfortable place for you over the years. Tell us about how that team came together. I know initially in your career, it was with folks from the Team USA program, folks who bowled in college. So that's how it all came together. But tell us about how 2001 ended up being the year, the debut, and some of the feelings and thoughts that surrounded that first event.
Yeah, the National Amateur Championship, boy. The week before, well, let's go back 1 year prior. So I bowled in the trials 1 year prior. It was the first time, I believe it was the first time that I'd competed in the national finals. We used to have the state qualifiers a number of years ago. So when I was 15 or 16, I came runner up to a gentleman. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with your history, but Pete Partridge, he was on Team USA back in the late 80s, early 90s. And I lost to him in our state qualifier in 96. And, at 15, 16 years old, that was one of the most crushing defeats. I don't even think we averaged 190. They were impossible. They were brutal. So when I got to go to the national finals in 2000, I was so excited. And then I was promptly disappointed because I didn't make the team. Really thought I was going to get there. Felt like this was the time to do it. And then I didn't. 2001 comes around. We bowled the US Open in Fountain Valley, California. I was traveling with Jeff Pirishad, and we were just going to drive on up to Reno right after we finished bowling in Fountain Valley. And I felt, I feel pretty good going into this. I know there's a lot of people that have a lot more experience than me, but I just got done bowling the US Open. I made the cut, which, there weren't very many left-handers that made the cut that year. They were surprisingly in Fountain Valley. They were actually really difficult on the left. And I felt about as good as I could, about as good as any other time in my career. And we got to Reno, and the rest is history. I got through qualifying. That wasn't very memorable. But then once I hit match play, it was like afterburners. I remember I had a couple balls that matched up pretty well, and I found what I like to do, and it was the stadium, and all the pieces fell into place, and I just hit the go button and went for it. Didn't really give any thought to anything else except how far I could run away from everyone.
Right. And then, of course, that has to build the confidence and the comfort level with just the venue and that stage alone. Now, coming back in for the Open Championships, some of that, those nerves and butterflies perhaps not there because of being acclimated already. But tell us about the first OC, the march down center aisle, just being part of that event and the people you surrounded yourself with. how did it feel, especially again having had success already in that venue?
Oh yeah, it was nerve wracking. The walk down center aisle is like nothing else. You come out and there's lights and there's people, and you're walking the wrong way down the lane, and it just all feels very, very strange to see everything from that perspective. And I only say that because you walk into a bowling center, every tournament feels like it's the same. You walk through the front doors, you bring your equipment with you, and you walk down to the lanes and away you go. Even in the stadium, it's the same thing you do. When you march out from behind the pin setters into this arena, it feels like any other major sporting event, like a basketball game where the players come down the tunnel, or a football game where everybody runs out of the tunnel. That's the only place in our sport that we get that sort of experience. And the best part is there's thousands of people that get to do that. That's the coolest part, is that march down center aisle, because that it is a big event. That is the big event. And so it was certainly, it was overwhelming. And I really don't remember too much about my first couple of years at the OC. They weren't particularly memorable. I'll go back and you could probably pop up a score sheet. It wasn't pretty. And that 2005 year in Baton Rouge, that was really not pretty. I remember every bit of that one. That was ugly. That's not my favorite place in terms of bowling score. The rest of it's fun, but boy, that was not a memorable trip. So,
well, we do have those numbers that we're gonna talk about here in a minute. The first one was good. It was a good start. 1937 was the all events total, which is
okay. All right,
most folks is solid. So before we talk about the next two, what was it about the event? Was it that experience and the march out and just as you described that made you want to come back year after year and bring folks with you and just continue to have that?
I mean, as a player, I think as a high level player, I think this is the place I have to be every year. There's just no question about coming back. It's for a lot of people, I know that it's, hey, this is our one chance. We get a great vacation out of it. And that's the beauty of the event, right? It can be anything you want it to be, for any of the players. For us, it's 9 games, and these 9 games matter. It's all about winning Eagles, and it's all about, score, and it's all about your legacy in the tournament, and every year matters, and just things like that. But it's about having fun with a team. There aren't a whole lot of other places where you can bowl with 9 or 10 other guys and get that kind of experience in our sport. And that's part of the beauty of it. We travel together, and I've been on a number of teams over the years. We've had a pretty steady group for the last decade, but yeah, those early years, I was on a couple different teams with different players. Had some success with a doubles partner early on. We made the top 10, I think, once or twice. But I don't think it was until I started going with the group that I go with now, where we had a consistent group. We saw what the other teams that won all the time did, and they made sure it was consistent from year to year, and they had strategies. And we decided that we wanted to try to build, hopefully that kind of dynasty, or at least have some success on the lanes doing just that. And that's what we set out to do. But once the lights, once all that settles down at the beginning and you get on the lanes, it's time for business. But it's really crazy. What's really overwhelming is you think about it being, 9 games. You bowl the whole year. We used to joke, we had a guy that he bowled 12 games a year, 3 games of practice the day before he left for the OC, and 9 games at the OC. And that was it. And then he didn't bowl again until the next year. But it's a very impactful thing for people in so many ways. And it's awesome that we're going to get to do it again this year.
Well, and then coming out of the debut at the National Bowling Stadium, 2002 and 3, you got to experience what the event truly is about too. And it's the unique venues that we're able to create year after year, going all the way back to 1901. This is something that outside of the NBS and now South Point has always happened. So 2002 and 3, you got to experience this venue, walking in the convention center for the first time. In 2002 in Billings, it worked out that it was a little bit more lefty friendly, right? So you're able to improve that score to 2,074 again.
Ooh,
that's
right.
it. Yeah. Anytime you hit anywhere near 2,000, I feel that's a career year for most. And I've never gotten there. Absolutely would love to.
Well, you're not Matt McNeil either. If you're Matt McNeil, then that 2,000 is not a very good bar. That's a bad year.
Well, even better, 2130 in 2003 for you. So as much as you don't remember, your scores were phenomenal. And then it started to kind of slow down a minute until you found your current group. But can you describe walking into those venues and just over the years and just realizing that a few months before this was an empty room, just a concrete floor and four walls, and it became what it is, and really truly what the experience is all about.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, you certainly know it when you walk in that every place is different, the venue's different, which is awesome. I probably didn't appreciate it as much then as I did after I was president, when I got to actually, we would sometimes do site visits and actually got to see it in its construction phases and what it looked like as an empty building, and then how quickly we brought stuff in and put it all together, and then how quickly we tore it down afterwards. It's unbelievable. Once I learned, what was behind it, the mechanics and the cost and the time frame to do all of that, it's an unbelievable feat. I think very few people understand, how big of an impact it is economically, but what we get to experience in such a short time frame, to realize that you walk in and it's great. Hey, this is an awesome bowling center. It's the coolest bowling center you've ever been in your life. And 3 days ago, it wasn't here.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 days from now, it won't be either. And that is probably the thing that you really, it hits you when you try to wrap your arms around the scale of that. But it's awesome. I mean, I love what we do with the event, how sustainable that event is. What we do with all the wood, all the local carpenters, all the people we employ. That's the part that makes it really cool to me. I mean, that makes me sound a bit nerdy about it. I know what goes on behind the scenes, but I think that's the coolest part of all of it. Once you get past, just the pure competitor experience, just to know what it means, the history of that event, and what it takes to make it go every single year.
Now, a few years later, you mentioned your group finally coming together. For the most part, the foundation, the start of what you have right now. It was the start of your PBA career. So a lot of things were happening all at one time there. And you had a couple years to enjoy just building that foundation before becoming exempt on the PBA tour and having to miss a couple of years. So tell us about the start of the group coming together, kind of who the key members are or were, and then having to miss it for a couple of years after it was just falling into place for you.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna guess that you probably have the photo somewhere, but maybe you do, maybe you don't. 2007 in Albuquerque. I'm trying to remember who our fifth was at that, but myself, Chris Clerk, Adam Ishman, we were probably the three that were the core of that group when we started building. We took the lead. We bowled in March, which is not something we do anymore, but we bowled very early in the tournament and took the lead. It's awesome anytime you get the lead, except that that there's thousands of teams that are bowling behind you, and you're probably not going to be there at the end of the event, but it was just such a cool thing to take the lead. We got a picture, we got interviewed, and then 2 days later we weren't in the lead anymore. But that's probably the start of when we thought, hey, if we figure out how to keep this group together or add and subtract as necessary over time, and then you start getting into let's build a second team and let's get the right people in place. That's a lot of fun. And then I screwed it all up by winning an exemption that year. So I had to make sure that they were going to hold my spot. Said, hey, I don't care how you guys do this, but maybe a little FOMO there, but hey, make sure I can come back, and if you never see me again, that's great. That means I'm doing well on tour, and I'll come watch you guys and have a beer and enjoy you guys winning some eagles. But fortunately, unfortunately, I got to come back a couple of years later and bowl again. But that's when we had some success out there on the lanes in 2011. So everything happens for a reason, I guess, and that just happened to be ours to get.
Well, it just happens to work out that Aaron Smith decided to have a hiatus from USBC in the Open Championships in 2011.
Vacation.
Yeah, his off season extended all the way through 2012. So he missed all the fun we're about to talk about. But your return to the OC stage was incredibly memorable. Maybe not immediately, but it ended up being. We used the word for the team event that year that you guys had. I think it was mediocre. I used in the news release, which anytime you shoot over 3,100 for starters is anything but mediocre. That particular year, scores were a little bit higher scoring, so didn't turn any heads in the team event at all. It was what happened during doubles and singles, however, that changed the course of your careers, and of course, led to that first eagle. But during doubles and singles the next day, however it worked out, you guys were on the same squad as the defending doubles champions. So back in the infancy of Bowl TV, we were live streaming the doubles champs in their title defense. And they bowled okay. They always bowl well, Steve Bone and John Cryer, and it was entertaining. And then there's this other group of guys to our right. I don't even think that the team score was enough to get on the radar to where we would be watching you for team all events. I mean, again, 3,100 was good, but it was a long way to 10,000, which it was going to take to win the team all events title. And then all of a sudden, you got a new guy on the team, this kid out of Arizona, and you can tell us more about that. You're back, and then the strikes just start to pile up, and you guys averaged over 230 in doubles on, of course, a high scoring condition, but the same one you had bowled on the night before, right? We still had one lane condition back in 2011, so you're back on it, trying to go forward again. 230 plus in doubles, and then 240 in singles. So please tell me, what was the difference from one day to the next? What did you guys talk about after that team event, knowing that it was a good score and there was some potential, but to do what you did in doubles and singles, absolutely incredible and unheard of.
Yeah. So we've done a lot of these streams, and this might be one of the first times that I've been able to actually sit down and unpack, what happened from start to finish. There's a lot of really interesting things about that year. Other than the fact that, we all look a lot thinner there. And, I think my neck was longer there too, but yeah. Anyhow, besides all that, so we started that event, feeling pretty good. Again, we had the right mix of guys, and we had Ron Moore on our team. And you probably noticed that Ron Moore's not in that photo. So not sure if I've told you guys this before, but Ron Moore was on our team. Ron Moore starts bowling the senior tour. This is right around the time that Ron Moore started having a breakout PBA senior career. Okay. Mm-hmm. And he calls us and says, "Hey guys, I got a problem. I'm bowling really well back east, and I don't think I'm going to make it out to Reno." He goes, "I might make this TV show, and if I make the show, I don't want to put you guys in a bind." So we had to shuffle, and we ended up asking Les Sherwin if, "Hey Les, do you want to move over to our team? We're going to need a fifth, so come on over." Now at the time, obviously none of us have any Eagles except Ron. Ron has coincidentally a team all events Eagle back from 1986 or 87, I believe. So he is probably the most experienced person on our team in terms of longevity, in terms of success at the OC. And now that guy's not going to be there. So we're still feeling pretty good. We got a good game plan. We've been watching bowlers. We know what we think we think we like the pair we're going to be on for the team event. We go down to the low end. We felt like we did everything that we were supposed to do. We felt like we made every move, and we shot 3,100. And you said there wasn't a lot of head turning. No, there was a lot of head shaking that night. I mean, it was furious head shaking, maybe some head smashing into walls and things, because we couldn't figure out what went wrong. Because you bowl a block. Anybody that's bowled any of these tournaments or any tournament, you bowl a block and then you have a reflection, and then you go back and you look at what could I have done better? What should I have done? And that one was really hard because we felt like we made all the right moves, and things just didn't work out. And it's hard to just accept as an athlete that, well, it just didn't work out. There has to be a reason, but it just didn't. And so we went out, we adopted the Swedish strategy. For kids, I won't go into great detail, but basically instead of going and having dinner and getting a good night's rest, we kind of did the opposite that night and went out and had a little bit of fun just to try to, loosen up, because we couldn't figure out why we didn't bowl very well. And we came out that next day and we got on that pair. And like you said, we started striking, and then we kept striking, and then we struck some more. And then Steve Bone and John Cryer, the guys that won the doubles the year before, start looking at us wondering, "Hey, this is great. We're going over to that pair next." So they were pretty excited. But meanwhile, we put up 3,500, I think, in the doubles event. And then the hard part was, because Les was bowling on the pair to our left, we actually crossed opposite ways for singles. So now we've got 4 of us on one pair, and our 5th guy is now 3 pairs over. And I remember when we were getting down into the last stages of singles, in which we bowled 3,600. So we've improved quite a bit from the night before. Les is down there putting up 260 the last game, and we have to run down and give him a high five every couple minutes. But it was like it was the most awesome experience, the most surreal thing that we were striking. We were unconscious. I don't even remember a lot of what happened in between. But the poor guy on our team that's down there helping us win an eagle, he's part of this, and he's 3 pairs down. I'm like, this isn't as much fun without him down here. And we had, like you said, we had Kyle King. So here all of us are bowled 10 years in the OC without a sniff of success. And here we are with Kyle, and we promised him 3 months before, hey man, we're going to help you win an eagle. And now here we are on the cusp of getting into the lead in the team all events. And not only that, I don't remember what we finished with 3,100. We were probably in 120th place in the team event. But not only that, we realized we were striking so much that we actually had a chance at the record. I think we shot 10,283. I think we were just a little more than 100 short of the record. And the craziest part was we thought, hey, we could get there. And so we just kept striking. And it was one of those awesome, awesome days that, people will go their entire career and hope they have, where you get to do it with a bunch of people and the strikes just keep coming. Everything goes your way. And if Kyle listens to this, I'm going to out him a little bit. I'll never forget. I don't know how many 250 games that kid bowled, but after his third one, he said, hey, I'm really sorry. And I said, for what? He goes, I'm just trying to get my legs under me. I said, are you out of your mind? I said, you haven't missed. Just keep doing it. I don't care if you fall over. Just keep doing what you're doing. So yeah, that was, man, what an awesome, awesome day that was. We had so much fun.
Before we set up the video, tell us who we have here. We've got the super sub, of course, and the rookie of the year, and then 3 guys that really built the foundation of this team a few years before this.
Yeah, so left to right, we've got Les Sherwant, we've got Kyle King, Chris Clerk, Adam Ishman, and then I don't know who that other guy is on the right. I think he photobombed it, but yeah, what a photo. See, we got to match the next year. The next year we thought, wow, we won this event. Now we should get some matching shirts. Now we should look like a team too.
Well, that's usually how it goes. The folks that they don't realize how important that is to the whole scheme of it until they see their photo on bull.com and they're like, oh, now I understand the Pride Award and some of that. So as long as you get there, it helps that you get there and there's an eagle presentation involved as well.
Yeah.
But as I said, that night we had the live stream set up for the doubles champs, and it was right next door. So we're able to just turn the cameras and watch a little bit of them. And then what ended up being a lot of bit of you guys as you were just doing this. It was amazing to watch, and we're primitive in our technology back then. So we might have been passing the stick mic back and forth and just you could tell, but we do have some video of it. And we'll hopefully with some of that the commentary from a young Matt Canizaro and a newcomer named Emil Williams Jr.
That's right. That was Emil's. That was one of his first, if not his first, wasn't it?
Yeah, bowling fan.
I think you're coming up here on the right lane, Mr. Cain. There you are.
I want to see everybody succeed, but of course.
Oh, look at that guy.
Everybody can win.
We must have been close at that point.
Well, I mean, we were tuned in for all doubles and singles, so we watched all 6 games and we talked a lot about it. We even had a great interview. We'll send you the link to that. We had a great interview with you after bowling was over just to talk about it. Personally, you helped the group. You had a 2097 all events total with 761 in singles. So again, it was super exciting. You guys got there. 10,000 at the OC is amazing. It's just incredible to watch, and I imagine incredible to be a part of. But that was May, so you didn't come in March this time, so the wait wasn't quite as long. But May to July, when you are in position for your first eagle, could not have been easy. You had the technology, you had the live streams, but tell us about the wait and those few months until it was official. It
was horrible. There's no other way to put it. It was terrible. The very next day we start watching, hey, this squad's coming through there. And, we put up a huge number, but like you said, with the way the scores were coming in that year, anything was fair game. The record would have been fair game to fall that year because it was just as big of a number as that was. The scores coming in were just unbelievable. But as it didn't make it any easier, but as some of the great teams started to come through there and not threaten our number, we started to get a little bit more comfortable thinking this could actually happen. I can't imagine waiting 2 more months than we did. It felt like a year and a half, just watching every single day or trying not to watch. It's like what happens when people try to watch a stock, or if you watch Bitcoin going up and down, and everybody that came through there, I had to just try to tune it out. But of course, the second I didn't want to watch it, somebody on the team would then go, hey, are you watching these guys right now? Hey, get on there and look what they're doing. I don't want to see it. It's not real if I don't see it. Man, but what a cool thing. It was painful, but it was worth it at the end. And it's easy to say that because we ended up winning, but you can't win if you don't lead. So if we ended up second, there would have been nothing to look forward to for the next 2 months. So the fact that we got to sit there in that spot and just wait it out until the very, very last day, there were some pretty close calls in the last few days. I think I'm trying to remember what team. I think Fox Bowl might have been pretty close. They had a chance to pick us off in the waning weeks of the tournament. But boy, it was awesome. It was great when we finally got to the very, very end and knew that we were going to win, and we got the call that it was official. It was just something else to know that we were all going to have Eagles for the first time for all of us. And then the unfortunate part of having to explain to Ron Moore what just happened was also kind of a challenge. But Ron was out winning on the senior tour, so he wasn't at a loss for having any success.
Right, Ron's done okay over the years.
Ron's done okay, yeah.
He probably did a few extra push-ups and sit-ups to get over it, so I'm sure he's fine.
That's right.
Well, Andrew, obviously the excitement of winning, getting the phone call, all led back to Baton Rouge in 2012 to finally have the opportunity to make the march down center aisle once again, get to experience what it's like to come back to the tournament as a champion, the Eagle presentation, all that, and of course the matching jerseys too. But what was kind of the anticipation like for you guys heading back into that event after knowing what you had accomplished the year before, and just all leading up to that moment right there?
Well, we look good there. We definitely expected a lot, and we did not live up to those expectations, unfortunately, in Baton Rouge. We did have a look actually that year, though. Not everybody. Chris Clerk and I actually, the day before we bowled this team event, took over the lead in the Bowlers Journal doubles, and we held on to win the doubles that year. And so that was. We did have a highlight that trip, but other than that, it wasn't in this moment. It wasn't particularly memorable. We did not do very well in the event that year. I know I didn't. I think a couple of the guys bowled decently, but it was a struggle. That's one of the things. It's a competition, right? Every year, and you have a little success, and there's a lot of good teams and a lot of good players, and you can't expect to win every single time. I think we probably set our sights a bit high, and it's pretty hard. You're riding the wave. You come in as the defending champions, and you feel like, wouldn't it be great if this happened every single year? And the reality is it doesn't. And the reality that just winning it once is a very low percentage proposition for all the people that pass through this tournament over tens and hundreds of years here. And you think about how special that one moment is. You hope to get back there. That year was not going to be that year. We've been trying pretty hard ever since. And I think once we realized that it was not so much the pressure of, hey, we've got to figure out a way to get back to what we were doing. We just need to start focusing again on what we're doing. And we've been working on building and rebuilding the team. We've lost some people over the years, but our fourth and fifth spots have been pretty consistent. The rules have obviously, with the rule changes, we've had to make some adjustments, but we still have a large part of our core group of guys. And ultimately, we feel like we might have 2 teams every year that threaten some titles in every division. And so that's the best part. Every event we have a chance. We got a group that we like to travel with, like to bowl with, and we have a whole lot of fun. So regardless of what happens in the future, we have a great time doing it, and we will continue to have a great time doing it and look forward to it. And that's the best part.
Well, and that's something that will never, ever be taken away, right? You'll always be a champion at the OC. You'll always have that designation next to your name. And somewhere that eagle reminds you daily, hopefully, of that success and what it means. But now that you have had a few more years to understand what the event is all about, what USBC is all about, and what that means, your place in the history. Can you describe, just looking back now, it's a decade, by the way, since that Eagle performance, on what it means to be a champion at the OC and be such just a big part of the OC tradition?
Oh yeah. Like I said, it's such a low percentage proposition to win an Eagle in any of those events. And some people that have done it multiple times, but when you realize how small that is, and you realize, how many people strive to do it every single year. And some people do it, despite just going out there to have fun, and they find themselves on top of the leaderboard, and it happens when they least expect it. But that's the beauty of that tournament, to just know that we're cemented in that legacy. Anytime somebody looks up the record, and our team's going to be there forever, and those Eagles are going to be next to our names for as long as we bowl that tournament. That's the coolest part is, you win anything, but especially this, and you're cemented into a long and rich history with a whole lot of people that have done incredible things in our sport. And you get reminded of that every time. So now when I walk in every year, it's not just, wow, this is a great venue. How cool is this? It'd be great to succeed on this stage. We have succeeded on that stage. We want to succeed again, but it just adds a whole new dimension to it. It really does. And for us, it will always be that much more special because of that.
Now, you come back year after year, you try to get back to that place. 2 years after that, 2013, you made another run at the OC individually, right? As if the announcements already weren't going to be long enough based on all your success in bowling. You made a run at 300 on the biggest stage in bowling, and that has to come with a whole nother set of nerves. But tell us about that, and then coming up short, and how motivating that also now will become as you embark on this journey each year.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. We see that a lot of honor scores are seem to be fairly commonplace in our sport, but again, I think the reason it's so impactful to bowl an honor score at the Open Championships, and not to underscore it, the same goes for the women's championships, but just to have that type of moment on that stage, something that's just very singular. You get down to it and you start running up the strikes, and everybody from every state in the country's standing around you, and at home they're all watching. It's pretty awesome. When you bowl league, if you shoot 300, there's a handful of people that see it, and in some cases a handful of people that have seen it 5 or 6 times, and they don't clap. It's just not it's not that as impactful or important to them in that moment. But anybody that makes a run in that moment, knowing all the nerves and all the buildup that goes into bowling 9 games in that event, the fact that you could be perfect in one of them, if you just think about that, right? That is just such a cool moment. And you can ask Chris Clerk. He's been there a couple times, and he gets announced for that every single year. And it's pretty neat. It really is. That is one of those very, very special moments to put up an honor score. And yeah, I had an Eagle, but I still would love to shoot 300 in one of those events.
Well, you got awfully close. Tell us about the final shot there that kept you from joining that elite club.
I don't remember the final shot. I think I put it out of my mind the second I didn't do it. I remember being nervous. I remember being incredibly nervous. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm not making this up, I think I remember turning around to Adam Ishman telling him, hey, this is a lot more nerve-wracking than when we were shooting 7,100 to win that team all events Eagle. Like, this is because you're doing that with your team. This is you're the only one up there bowling, and there's all these people watching you. And I don't remember a moment shooting 300 where I'd been that nervous. But I got to be honest, I think it's psychological. I'm pretty sure I put out of my mind what happened after that. But God, yeah, I'd love to do that. That'd be pretty great.
Well, it ended up being 298, but the good news is we're going to give you 9 more chances at it in just a few months. So we'll see you in Las Vegas in 2021. You guys still a huge part of the event each year, and I know something you look forward to. For you, this will be year number 19 coming up, so going on.
I know, getting there.
You described some of what it's all about, but if you had to tell somebody about the Open Championships and what it means and what keeps you coming back and some of your favorite things, obviously besides winning the Eagle, can you sum it up just to do our job for a minute?
Yeah, there's nothing like this in any sport. There's nothing that has 40, 50,000 people from all over the country that come over a long period of time to compete in anything like this. They're we say it's not strictly an amateur event, but we used to talk about it, how, there is no amateur sporting event of this magnitude on the planet. And to have the opportunity for anybody that has a USBC membership to come participate in something at the absolute highest level of the sport in your country, how do you pass it up? If you've never been to the Open Championships, you really have no idea what you're missing out on. It is such an incredible experience. It's such a unique experience. It is something I don't care how many tournaments you bowl and where you bowl them, you will never have anything like this. And you will always remember that first one, no matter what you do after that.
And that is completely 100% and very well said. And we're going to clip that out, and we're going to use that in our marketing, and so get all the folks to come and bowl. And now, as I know you have to get back to work now that you have a real job in the world. But before we go, anything coming up for you? Anything special, bowling wise, life wise? Anything to look ahead to besides your Hall of Fame speech? Now that you have another year to work on that, I don't know how that's coming along, but
it's not
coming up for you.
No, I mean, I'm still living it. Whatever I live through in the next year or so, hopefully I can keep adding elements to that speech. I don't think it'll be any less special. It's kind of a bummer that we weren't able to do it last year or this year, but it won't be any less special. And hopefully my family's all able to join. And in the next year, I guess probably the biggest thing I got coming up now that the Players is over, I'm going to get ready for the Masters. I don't have any immediate plans to bowl tour stops, unfortunately. But like I said, I got a great company behind me now with some awesome equipment that's coming out. And it's unlike anything I've thrown. It's pretty easy to say that, but it's made me feel a lot more confident, and the people I'm working with make me feel very confident and very supported. And so I'm very lucky to have them in my corner. And with some of the more life security, I can go out and bowl and have fun. So I'm just excited. The Masters can't get here fast enough, but yeah, that's definitely going to be the next big stop. So, and hey, it's in Reno. Not that I was disappointed about the Gold Coast, but hey, we're going to Reno. Never know what might happen.
Two big events. We look forward to seeing you potentially. We have the U.S. Open and the Masters back to back at the National Bowling Stadium. So we'll see, hopefully you and all of your talented friends for that. And then, of course, the Open Championships taking place at South Point Bowling Plaza and Bowling Center in 2021, kicking off May 1st, going until July 18th. So still plenty of time to enter if you want to come out and make a run at one of those Eagles. Now 3 average-based divisions, right? So opportunities for everybody, regardless of skill level. We'll look forward to that. Andrew, great insight today. Again, former Team USA member, PBA regional champ, soon to be officially a USBC Hall of Famer for meritorious service, a lifetime dedicated to the sport, serving it and competing in it. We appreciate all the great insight about the Open Championships and going down memory lane a little bit to such an exciting couple of days in 2011. And hopefully you get to go home and take a look at that Eagle and remember all of the good things. But for folks watching on Bowl TV, all the good things must come to an end. That's going to do it for today's episode of Inside the OC. We'll be back next week with another guest. It'll be Chris Hans coming on to talk about some of the things that he does to be a team captain, his new bowling center, his pro shops, and all kinds of good stuff as we prepare to hit the lanes in 2021. Also, the PWBA podcast returns, Bowling Explained, and more on Bowl TV. If you missed anything last week for the PWBA, check that out in the Bowl TV archives. Again, we'll be back very soon with more. For Aaron Smith, Andrew Cain, my name is Matt Canizaro, and that's the news for now. We'll see you on the lanes.